Alright, well, this is your boy FC's Swag Workshop video. In Jerkin, there's a lot of fundamental moves that you need to know. Some are harder than others, but this is really for all people who really just want to know everything about how to jerk, and I'm going to teach you that today. And there's 15 major moves that you need to know about. And the first three, the fundamental is first of all, it's jerking. Jerking is the main thing you need to know how to do to jerk. And there's actually 3 different ways you can do it. And the first one is just the normal jerk. And that's, you just feel it, you just get in the music, and it's just, you can do it at any height, any level. You can go lower, all the way to the ground, it doesn't matter as long as you're on the rhythm. The second way to do the jerk is what I call the dog jerk. And that's where you go. You basically get on one leg and you put your other leg up and you just rock back and forth with it. And the third type of jerking is really the rarest kind of jerk you're gonna see, but it still comes up. That's when you come low, you bring your butt up, and then you bring it lower while you start jerking. Now, the 4th and 5th moves that you should know are the half dip and the full dip. And the half dip is basically when you just bend your knees, take a couple steps. Move 5 is the actual dip. And so, this is the half dip, and then the full dip would be when you go lower and you just do something you do some sort of stance or something outside of the dip afterwards. Now, there's 2 upper body moves that you need to know, and I'm not talking like stances, I mean just upper body moves that are really common, and they're fundamental. The first one is the chin wipe, and the chin wipe is when you take your hand and you go like this, just one motion, and you usually do this when you're jerking, and you just and that's the 7th one, the headbang, and that is when you just take your hands, put them behind your head. Don't touch your head. You don't have to do that. Sometimes you can, but it's really better if you don't. And that's the headbang. And those are the 2 main upper body moves. You usually only do those while you're doing another form of jerking or something, but those are the 2 upper body moves. Move number 8 is the step kick. And basically what a step kick is this. And step kick is basically you put all your weight on your front foot, and then you put it all on your back foot, but your foot's on the toe, and then you go back on it, and you have to do it both at the same time, otherwise you just do not get the motion. And it's all about timing, because if I go like this, it just doesn't look right. You have to kind of bounce with it. Now, the 9th move that you should all know is really one that's not, it's really rarely ever mentioned, but it's something that's extremely common, and that is the toe tap. And the toe tap is where you go into a dip, but in coming out of the dip, you tap your toe to your hand, and that's a toe tap. And there's variations of a toe tap. Like you can go down, hold up. The 10th move is the SpongeBob. The first move is you get on one leg, but you have to make sure there's space between both your legs when you do that. So you go like this, and then you bring in your leg. Then you go to one other side, and then you bring in your leg again. And so what it looks like is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do this move, you can jerk. It's iconic. And that is the reject. And chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably have tried to do it or have seen it done. It's just, it is like the ultimate move of jerking, and that's this. You basically go up, come back, go up, come back. And what really, the one part of the reject that requires you to move both legs at the same time is when you kick back. So when you jump forward, you have to kick back. It's really two main movements. 1, 2. 1, 2. Kick forward, lean back. 1, 2, 1, 2. And you just keep practicing that over and over until you get the rhythm of it. This is the reject. But then there's something that has started. It's called the reject kick. And the reject kick is where you add a whole nother step to the reject. And so let me give you an example. And some people try and call that the reject, but it's not. And the variation of that is when you do the opposite. Instead of kicking out like this, you just kick inward like this. And so I'm going to go through each of them step by step. The first one, the reject kick, where you go outward, bounce forward, kick. Then you bounce forward on the other foot. Before you bring this one down, kick. And then repeat it. Kick. So bounce forward, kick, bounce forward, kick. And that's basically all there is to it. And then there's the kick inward, and that's where you basically, it's actually simpler than the kick outward because it's 2 motions instead of 3. It's just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The most important thing is when you, it's like rejecting, only you bring your heel up. You make sure that you make your heel kind of protrude forward a lot more, so it's just, the emphasis visually is on the heel. And that's how you do the 2 variations of the reject kick. Move number 12 is called the slide back. And it's really simple. What you do is you just put your foot in front of you, and then you just swing it back, and while you're swinging your foot back, you jump. And what that does is it pushes you backwards. So, you go. That's a slide back. One thing you want to try and do is you don't want to jump too high, because the illusion is that your foot was on the ground the whole time. The 13th move is called the heel click. And the heel click is really self-explanatory. Like, you know, but it's thrown into, it's not something people usually do by itself, but it's usually something they throw into something else. So if they're reject kicking and then they just go like that's something you'll see a lot. Or somebody doing a string of heel clicks where they're just like, that's really common too. Move 14 is called the jerk bounce. And the reason why it's called that is it's basically a jerking move where you just bounce. And each time you bounce, you get into another position that is in the style of jerking, but it's just, you're just staying still in it for a second. And it's basically you just jump, pose, jump, pose. Now the final move that I'm going to teach you today is called the pin drop. You tuck your foot behind your back leg, and you're not supposed to land on your knee, because the people who land on your knee, like, you mess up your knee, and it's not even necessary. No one's going to even know if your knee's like an inch off the ground. And a lot of times people will put their arm out to help them get momentum to come back up. And that's how you do a pin drop.